curious to hear what your thoughts are on some of this stuff tonight, and then of course tomorrow, when you write your cash game article. But anyway, Stevie, huge slate, so we're gonna just jump right into it. Cash game pitchers, as we normally start off with. What do you got?
First things first, like the top tier today is absolutely loaded. Like we got Sale, Boyd, Caleb Smith, Strasburg, Bauer, Chris Paddock, Herman, Nola. We got Bumgarner. We got obviously a ton of studs on the slate. And a lot of ugly SB2s, like you said. So I don't know what the fuck's gonna go on with that tomorrow, but I like a lot of these SB1s. I think the obvious cash game pitcher tomorrow, it's gonna be Sale. Like he's been back on fire, where he was kind of inconsistent during the start of the season, but leads the slate in K percentage, lowest walk rate out of those studs there, well, just above Boyd, lowest Sierra, highest swinging strike rate. So, it's beautiful park for him, and you wanted to take lefties against Tampa Bay. He's cheaper than Bauer too, and only a little more than like Strasburg, Paddock, and Nola. So I think he's gonna be obviously the clear SB1 for him.
I totally agree with you, Stevie. I couldn't have said it better myself, bro. It's just like he has an awesome park. It's the Rays. They've struggled against lefties. Like they haven't been striking out as much, admittedly, but it's Chris Sale. He's got well above average strikeout stuff, and like you said, surprisingly, Bauer is actually more expensive, which is wild. But a lot of different guys to choose from. The tournament conversation is going to be a little more broad, I think, for sure. SP2s and cash. What do you think?
Definitely. Oh man, this is getting rough now. SB2 is like, so SB2 is kind of loose because like I don't. Who the hell do I want to play from that cheap end? Like I don't really feel comfortable playing anyone towards that bottom tier. But like if I really want to go crazy and try to like dig up some of these guys, if I like Dylan Bundy, maybe because like, he did show decent strikeout stuff, like still 24% K rate with moderate walks, but Sierra's getting up there. Obviously his ERA is a lot higher, but he's not the worst pitcher in for that cheaper price tag, even though the Diamondbacks have been super high, and I've been playing them a lot and been rewarded for that. But like we were saying, this SB2 tier is absolutely ugly, so I'm going to need to take some shots on somebody, especially in tournaments who want to take some sour relief. So Bundy, when he has that kind of pay upside, as a cash game SB2, I might have to settle on him if I don't like double pay up, but he's the only other cheaper SB2 I'm really looking at.
I hear you, man. I think like that's like, and I think like this is gonna sound crazy. On the one hand, I'm gonna say like I don't want Bundy against the D-backs. They're just too. On the other hand, the guy that like I'm looking at, you have every right to just laugh in my face. But maybe Dylan Covey at 4.6 like against because
I mean,
like, but like it's the same kind of. I mean, the situation. Covey has like no strikeout upside. He has only been pitching like 1 to 2 innings a night, so that makes absolutely barely any sense either. It's just because of the opponent, and it's a terrible park. So that's why it's going to be so interesting tomorrow. It's like if it's not these guys that we're looking at, and these are guys that are already you're uncomfortable to play, then who is it? And I don't know, like. Maybe there'll be a cheap stack to where people will try to spend up for an SP2. But as of right now, it seems like most people, like you said, and what I agree with you, that most people like to go with a high-low. And so I think that people may look at some of these guys like Bundy and what's his name that I just said. I think Chris Archer probably gets some love. Archer at 7.5, he might get.
People just love the name still. Like even though he sucks, super home run prone and everything now. Like people love the name and he's cheap, so maybe he will definitely get some traction still. And he does have like he's super cheap and he still has the 9th or 8th highest K percentage on the slate.
Right. Yeah, he's still getting strikeouts. Like he's been finishing with double-digit points over his last X amount of starts. And the Cardinals, like he just saw the Cardinals. He was 9K against them in St. Louis on the 17th. 8K, 6 innings, gave up 3 earned. He got a 19. He was 9K that day. He's now 7,500 and he's at home. I think he's probably the guy, right? Like the Cardinals have been relatively cold. They put up a lot. They've been waking up. They have. Edman, Goldschmidt hit a grand slam today. Like they have been showing signs of waking up. But at the end of the day, like they're still striking out like a healthy amount. And Archer, like you said, like he is home run prone as hell, but he is also a high strikeout player. So I don't know, man. I think that might be for cash games, like for tournaments. Maybe then we look at those two assholes that we were talking about before. But like maybe in cash, it's probably him. I think.
I like. There's no one on that bottom tier. Obviously,
Right.
like maybe like Merrill Kelly's going against the Orioles, but like no strikeout upside. Like, he shows like he's should be getting shelled when he's really not. Like he's ground ball.
You know what? There's somebody I didn't even see this guy, but Keuchel probably gets some love too. He's 7,200 against the Royals, and the Royals are implied for 3.7 runs right now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if him and Archer were like the two SP2s paired with like the Chris Sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that price tag too,
Right.
definitely.
And like I'm not a big Keuchel guy. I just don't like guys that don't have a ton of strikeout upside. But Keuchel has like gotten there like 2 out of his last 4 starts. So he had 2 bad starts, then he had 2 in the 20s. And the Royals are not a very good offense. They're just not. So maybe I personally
he's pitching deeper into games, which is
Right.
nice too. Though, like he's still getting like towards 100, even though he's shown absolutely no strikeout
Right.
upside. Like he's still getting like going through 100 pitches, like not getting shelled. I mean, he didn't. I guess the Marlins, Padres, Milwaukee, like whatever, but he's fine. I guess like at the price tag, like I said, I don't mind playing him,
Yeah.
but like a Sierra, like 1.5 over his ERA, so maybe
Yeah,
a
it's
little
like
bit.
I don't like him, to be honest. Like as of right now, I don't know. I don't have a great feeling. I would rather play Archer, even though Archer's more home run prone and etc. Like I would rather take a guy that I know is at least going to get me some strikeouts than take a guy that may not ever. So it's like, but I think as far as like ownership goes, I think a lot of people will go with Keuchel, and I wouldn't argue anybody off. But in both formats, me personally, I think I'd prefer Archer in that situation. Let's talk about tournaments, Stevie. So we do have Steven Strasburg slated to pitch instead of Fetty, who was supposed to start today. I know you live in the Northeast, Steve. You live in New York. I live in Jersey. We got hit with some monster-ass storms. So, like, at first, when the Nationals game got canceled, I was kind of like, you bunch of, cats, you know.
That game was amazing to target too tonight.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, oh yeah. I wrote the article. I had the Rockies as basically my core, like Blackman and Story, and then they postponed the game, which like initially frustrated me, but ended up being awesome for me because that just made me build another Astro stack. I already had Astros and D-backs, and it just made me build one more. And so that was great. And on top of that, at least we didn't have to play the game. At least we knew it was gone. But when we got hit with that storm, I realized I was like, oh shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was why. I told you, bro. I mean, my wife and I tried to go see The Lion King. So our local movie theater had a power outage when we got there. They locked the doors, wouldn't let anybody in. So we thought we were slick. We went to the next town over. Halfway through the movie, they lose power. So the storms were real. Like the Northeast, the storms were serious. It was no joke. But talk to me about some of these pitchers for tournaments.
Like Strasburg's funny, like I said, like I always like targeting the Rockies outside of cores. Just about a 3.5 run total. He's among the top studs, like 4th in K percentage on the slate. 3rd lowest walk rate and 2nd highest swing and strike rate. So that's always nice against a weaker Rockies team. Or like you get through the bottom, top of the order between like I won't even consider like Dial up there outside of cores. So like Story, Arenado, and Blackman, like you're really smooth sailing through that lineup pretty much. So I definitely don't mind targeting him. Like he's a little bit of a bigger favorite. I thought the Nats would have a lot higher run total, but he's still a decent sized favorite going against Lambert. I'm gonna like Strauss a lot. And he's not gonna get the ownership when he's that closely priced to like the other top tier stuff. Oh, any of these guys won't. Like when he's right below Sale, like only 300 less than Sale, and like Sale's gonna get all the ownership. I don't think Strasburg's gonna come in high owned at all, and that's the most appealing part of it.
I completely agree with you. I think I highly doubt very many go to Strauss. First of all, people are already like skeptical on him. People are starting to turn on him a little bit. Like
The hot weather, man.
Yeah, and like it's not gonna be Sweatsburg exactly. It's not gonna be hot. Like this whole storm actually is gonna cool us off in the Northeast for a little while, for I think like a week. But from a game theory perspective, you have to take a look. Massive strikeout upside. Rockies do strike out, and because he's so close in price to Chris Sale, his ownership will be very low. You could make an argument for Chris Paddock if you want to play the narrative route. If you remember, there's like this beef now between the Mets and Chris Paddock. Really, Pete Alonso and Chris Paddock. When the Mets they played in San Diego.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. I forgot that too.
Yeah. So around here, you know how I'm sure you've seen the commercials. They're kind of hyping it up. The Met commercials are kind of Pete Alonso and Paddock and
the clips of him pitching, then Alonso hit no runs.
Yeah. So maybe we look at him. The Mets aren't a very high strikeout team against righties, so. But it's still a decent park, and there might be some added motivation here, so maybe there's something we should look at. But for the most part, if I'm paying up, I'll probably go with Sale. Otherwise, I'll probably drop down and really try to save some money with like a Caleb Smith maybe, who's been, like we talked about it before the show, they've been letting him go since coming back from his injury. He's pitching like 94 to 100 pitches a game, and the White Sox are scary. The park is not good. I believe in Caleb Smith's strikeout upside, so maybe do that. Otherwise, it's kind of hard not to just go to the top with like the Strasburg Sales and all those guys, right? Like
Nola too. I mean, any righty pitcher against the Tigers becomes really appealing. He's coming in pressed to SB5, and he's been pitching a lot better than I mean, again, another pitcher that started out super cold too. But
no, that's a good point.
It's any solid pitcher against the Tigers that brings any upside to any pitcher at all, and he's been solid so far. So I don't mind spending up on Nola too.
That's a really good point. I mean, I didn't even see him. I was looking because I already looked at Sale, Strasburg, Paddock, and so I just immediately dropped, and I didn't even notice him at 10-1 against Detroit. It's like on the one hand he's an extra hitter that sucks. On the other hand, the extra hitter is coming from the Tigers. So how bad is it going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like,
does it really make that?
I would
big of a
be
difference?
like much more afraid of like Woodruff hitting ninth. Like you know what I'm saying, or some like, and that's probably a bad example because he's actually a great hitter. So but you know my point. So. That's a really good point, Stevie. What about when we start to get a little bit cheaper here? Do you see any guys that you'll maybe willing to take a chance on besides the Chris Archers and Keuchels?
Oh man, that's when I start looking more at like Covey, like you said. Right. Again, it's the price play, but would ever want to say I like him? Absolutely not. So that's a little rough there. I swear to God, I think Vargas is juicing. So maybe if he is really fucking taking the sauce, then I gotta try to play a little bit of him. I'm telling you, when he started to wanted to beat the shit out of who's the beat reporter or whatever, then he started throwing gems now.
The rage kicking in, you know.
It's all making sense, man. It's
all coming together.
It's not a joke. I think he's definitely taking the sauce.
It's all coming together now.
I'm gonna ride the train until he's 9K, and then he gets suspended for 80 days. So you gotta play him a little bit, even though you really want to take righties against San Diego too. But they are kind of weak to left-handed pitching too.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I think you have to at least consider him. The Padres, I don't like to really pick up them at lefties, but that's just because the Padres are just a WiseTake Nation favorite. In reality, this year, they've been disappointing overall. So I think we have to take a look. I mean, he's been giving up a lot of home runs, but he's still getting the job done. That's it. They give up a home run, maybe 2 home runs, but then nobody else does shit against him. And he's still very cheap. So I hate to say it, but I think you're right. We have to at least look at him. You can't just rule him out immediately. You just can't.
Isn't it crazy, dude? Vargas used to be the absolute gem to stack against. Yeah. Like my problem is I'm still stacking against him and losing money now, but like now, I got to consider playing him a little bit now. I guess.
I know, but that's when he goes down the shitter. When you finally hop on board, you're like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna try. And that's like that's like you find out like 2 weeks before he had to hop off the cycle because he heard he had a drug test coming up. And, yeah, exactly. There's one other guy I'll mention, and like it terrifies me to even go here, but Kyle Gibson. And the only reason I'm even like mentioning him against the Yankees is because I do remember, I think it was last season, it was like a day slate. Me and Paulie both had stacked the shit out of the Yankees. We stacked the Yankees a shit ton. He was getting him where he was on TV for some reason in Florida. We were obviously getting all the Yankee games up here, Stevie. So, and we're about to feast on Kyle Gibson. It's going to be awesome. The Yankees are going to destroy him. And Kyle Gibson just destroyed them. Just completely destroyed them and just ruined us. But he did it in such a way that I wasn't even mad because it was so like awesome to watch. Like they couldn't hit his curveball. They couldn't hit his slide. It was just wild. So I'll say his name for name's sake. And also he is Seum. Which is, we always have to look at a player who's Seum and just do the pat down search, look around, all that shit, make sure that they're good. But Maybe a guy I'll look at. I would assume that game is going to be fairly popular. I know it's a 15-game slate, so there's not really going to be a chalk offense, I don't think. But seeing as how there were a shit ton of home runs in that game today, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people try to go back. So maybe if there's any leverage at all, if we feel like we're getting any leverage at all, maybe I could look at him. But I think we have a lot of guys that I would rather pitch on the first look, so,
Yeah, I like him too. Like his surface stats seem decent so far, like 368 xFIP so far in the season, like almost 24% K rate, and only have like a 4 Sierra or so. Like he's decent, but like Yankees are the kind of pitcher I want to take, like where it's like, again, like if I'm taking shots on the Yankees, like it has to be a high strikeout pitcher just because like they are so strikeout prone. Like I don't want balls in play. Like, I want to take the guys a little more strikeout upside, but like again, like his still pitching with 24% K rate, and like there's a ton of K upside in that lineup too. So I don't mind the call at all a lot. Like I actually kind of like him.
It's worth a look.